Hello YouTube world, thank you very much for looking at this. This is a review of the new TC-Helicon app called VoiceJam Studio. It is for the iPad only. The VoiceJam app, which TC-Helicon brought out a few years ago, which was obviously for the iPad and the iPhone, even the iPad Touch, but this is for the iPad only. The reason for that is obviously because of the sheer size of what they've done with it. So I've got this camera here, but obviously the sound you're going to hear is mainly coming from this microphone. So what I wanted to just show you was, hang on. So just to show you obviously, we have the microphone which is plugged into the iRig. It's the IK Multimedia iRig. And then it's going directly into the iPad just by the headphone jack, and that's it. So this is the new app in all its glory. Hello. So there we go. I'm just going to put this camera back, and then obviously we'll describe what's going on. Okay, so there we go. So the thing that you saw actually on that camera was obviously a little picture of myself. So what you normally see is this, which is basically on the right hand side. You normally see the level, the pan, the filter, and the cue. So the reason why you could see that is basically because the VoiceJam Studio is a 4-track looper, which you can edit the loop itself. With TC-Helicon, of course, they're really world-renowned for their vocal effects, and it has a range of vocal effects inside. But what the VoiceJam Studio, and it's probably the reason why it's called Studio, is because you can actually film yourself using the camera on your iPad, a FaceTime camera. So you can film yourself doing a recording. So you don't really need this camera if you didn't want to. I'm just doing this to show you what the difference is and how it works. So it's a 4-track looper. So on the right hand side you've got the level, the pan, the filter, the EQ, and also on the left hand side you've got the recording. So you've got record, play, stop, erase, sync. At the bottom you have all play, all stop, and then you also have the metronome as well right in the middle. Now while I've been talking all the way through this, the metronome has been blinking away with a little light. That's because it's on mute. So when you boot up a new session, basically you will get this. And you'll see some sticks kicking away. Now you can select between stick, kick drum, shaker, tambourine, cowbell, or mute. So for example, if I pick shaker, it'll change to a set of shakers. If it changes to tambourine, it'll change to a tambourine. Now it's set to 120 beats per minute at the moment, so what we can do is, we can say if we just didn't want that beat, we just can either tap it, we'll tap the beat that we want, so we go... So we go. So 106 beats. If it's slightly out, you can just use these little arrows to change to what you want. So let's go to 105, for example. And then with level, pan, filter, and EQ, you can change the way that sounds again. So obviously we've got like a stick here. I quite like the shaker, so we're going to go with the shaker. And then what I can show is I can change obviously the volume of that. So down. And we can change it up a bit. And then obviously the pan, if you're going stereo out to a PA or stereo out to a busking speaker, whichever one you're using. And then also what you can do is you can change the filter, which is quite a really nice thing, which I didn't really think about before for the looping, was like how it sounds. Now, TC-Helicon brought out a product which was called a Voice Live Touch 2, and it had a ribbon on it, and you could change the filter with a ribbon of the loop, which I think they've sort of incorporated into this. But it's just a little dial here, so if we just... So if you don't want it to be too intrusive, you can obviously change the volume down, but we can also change the filter and also the cue as well. Depending on how you want it. So I quite like it a little bit subtle, to be honest, so we'll leave it like that. Onto the actual part of VoiceJam Studio. You have obviously looping, which is at the center of what it does. So this is why you have a BPM. And of course, you've got here at the top left-hand side, it says dry. And you've got little arrows either side. Now you can use these arrows and go through. This is the effects. So of course, it's dry effect. You've got, it's dry at the moment. So you can just hear my voice. It's normal. Hello, this is my normal voice, blah, blah, blah. And then you can either tap on dry or use the arrows, but we'll tap on dry just to show you. And then you come up with all these different lovely effects, okay? And they are fantastic. There are some of them that obviously are very subtle, and some of them that are not too subtle. So, for example, we just put a reverb. We've got a bright room reverb. 1, 2. So a little bit of a reverb there. We can obviously go a little bit more. So we can go you've got also pitch assist, and you've got a hall. 1, 2. So you can see the way it's changing my voice there. Then you can go into choruses, doubles. There's loads of stuff here. There's one which I really like. Attention shoppers, it's called.
Hello, attention all shoppers. We have a sale on something that's happening in 30 seconds. The doors are about to close as the bombs are about to go off. Okay, so there we go. There's also, you can sound like
Bye. Oh, you got Olive. Yeah.
There are some obviously really useful ones that I only actually use, like the deep voice, so use really good for bass. You can make yourself sound a little bit thicker. Oh yeah, 1, 2, 3.
A little bit thinner. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Good for rapping. Deep C is
Literally just to the voice of C, and that's all it does, so I don't go to C. Yeah, so you got obviously bass to start.
Flanger, if you really want a flanger, and this really mad one, which I quite like actually, it's called Sing Guitar Solo. It is really quite loud, just so you're aware of that. But it's So there we go. Now, all the time I've been talking, you've been hearing the metronome's going. In order to do the looping, you need to have the metronome on. You don't have to have it on, but you need to get it set to the BPM. This is the one thing about it. It's a little bit of a negative to me, but it's not that bad. It's just that basically I'm used to using a different app, which you can just go da 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 and then hit it. With the VoiceJam app, with the older app, you could just do it, and then it wouldn't matter what BPM you were. It would just figure out where it went from start to finish for the loop. With this one, you need to set the BPM. I kind of hope that then in a future update they change that, because you have the option to either still have it like this or have it as we'll figure it out for you. The iPads are more powerful now. I think they can do that really. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you a little loop, and I'm just going to make this up off the fly, so I don't know what the hell I'm singing. So enjoy as I do it. What I'm going to do is I will stop it at certain points just to show you different things. So for example, I will show you the first loop. This is a dry, no effects. So there we go. There's your first loop, and you can see the waveform of the loop. If I was to then, let's just stop that, and let's just stop everything in fact. So if I was to then basically overdub on the top of that, you'll see a little line come up on the left-hand side of the first loop, just under where it says record, or where the waveform is. So you'll see the waveform there now. So we'll play it again. If I hit record, you'll see a little thing. So you can see on the left-hand side, there's a little grey box, and that is your overdub. That is your what dub you've done over the top of it. Now, if I was to basically sort of swipe that across, it will move it back to that's undo. Or if I swipe it on the other side, it'll redo it. So if we play this again, press play. There we go. Now if I swipe this across, that's sort of gone. And then if we put it back, so there we go. So this is undo. And I think you can do that maybe twice, and then the last two it'll remember. And then obviously, if you go beyond that, you put 3, 4, 5, 7, 12 loops on. It'll only sort of undo the last two. So yeah. So then obviously with the loop, which goes like we did before the metronome. Obviously we can change the level, we can change the pan and the filter. I think that's going to become very quickly my fun toy to play with. I love the filter on this. And obviously then what you can do is that's just me doing it dry, and then obviously if we could then go into somewhere like, thick chorus. Hello. Actually, let's go for something even crazier than that. Let's go to distort or
megaphone, distorted megaphone. I see that one in fact. Okay, so yeah, oh, boom, boom. Right, okay, so let's play the first loop. I'll sing something over the top, and then what I can show you is that's recorded with that effect. So then I can then filter the effect as well, which is great. So let's just play this again. I'm going to record a new phrase now. Now what I did, let's just put this back out to dry so you can hear me properly.
Okay, so what I did was I recorded this distorted effect. So what I also did as well, I deliberately did this. I recorded it twice as long as the first loop, just to show you that you can actually record stuff that's either longer or shorter. And you can actually record it straight away, and it will just loop around. So as you see the first loop, you see the bar going across, like any sort of timeline bar, and it goes across and then loops back again. With the second one, it's doing that, but of course, it takes 2 revolutions of the first one for the second one to get to the end, if that makes sense. So as we press play all on the bottom left-hand corner, I always have to remember which one to be right and be left because I'm terrible at that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start playing around with the filter of the second one because it's a bit abrasive at the moment. It's a bit loud. But then we can play with that and obviously sit it within the mix, as it were. But we're doing this live, which is great. So let's go play all. Just going to mess around with it a little bit. So we're just going to add another thing onto it. Okay, so there you go. Let's just get away from that one. There we go. So, one thing you noticed, obviously, once you've put your loop down, you can then record at any point. You don't have to wait until the start of the loop. Like most things, basically, you can then just go, record. I want to put it in the middle of the loop, but as long as that initial loop is there. So obviously, for example, the third loop down, I hit record again about halfway in. But you can do that, that's fine. So then, this is just me messing around with the loop at the moment. So obviously, I haven't even put down like sort of like a boom, you know, anything drum-wise. Now, what I will do is I will create a loop, and obviously we play all, mute all. And what you can then do is if you've put a beat down, you don't have to have this metronome that's on. Obviously, if I say stop all, or all stop, sorry, I always say the wrong way around, apologies. If you say all stop, then obviously it will stop everything, including the metronome. If you stop them individually, the metronome will still go. If you play all, or all play, see, I'm doing it again, then all of it will play, including the metronome. So now let's just say, for example, I like that, but I don't want to do boom, boom, boom. I want an actual kick drum. So there we go. So we can put it back to the shaker, on the tambourine, the cowbell. So there we go. I don't usually use the cowbell much, but it's I think it's only suited for certain songs. But here we go. But yeah, I use the shaker, and of course it's kept that. It's kept that filter no matter which one I pick. Have a really sub bass, like subtle, but it's there. It's pumping. So yeah, so you can have it as any way you want. So this is basically, as I say, the VoiceJam Studio. You can see me mucking around with it and putting different things on top. And then it's just down to your imagination what you can do with 4 loops. It reminds me of another looper, this side of it anyway, the left-hand side of it. Reminds me of the everyday looper, which got brought out for the iPhone, but with obviously the swiping to undo and things like that and everything else. Obviously, you've got erase, which will erase everything. Next to erase, you'll see in the middle is called sync. And with sync, basically what you can do is, obviously, it is synced to 105 BPM. That's why you see the little lock there. If I was to unsync that, it will literally be the recording that you record it at. Now, if you record it out of sync, that's fine. You can do that if you want to. If you've got some swailing, and you don't want it in time with the rest of the stuff, you want it to purposely go out of sync. That's what that will be for. Underneath that, you've got a little icon here with a little finger, and that's just the replay. So obviously plays round. The next one along, if you use this one whilst we're playing, you can scrub. So if I change it onto the other one, now one thing you've got to be really careful with that is that when you let go, it will do it at the point of where you are. So if it's out of sync at that point, you got to be really careful with that. The other one is wrong one. The other one is the 3 dots, which basically means the loop will only play when your finger is on it. End of. With the other one, with scrubbing, once you leave at that point, it will carry on playing at that point. Whereas if you leave at this point, it won't play at all. So if we just go back to it, use this one here. So there we go. So that's sort of like an on-off, as it were. And yeah, there's the other thing. The only other thing basically is just above the where it says dry, where you'd have your effect. The other thing it has is 2 little things. One is a little clock, and the other one looks like a note. So let's go on to something that has an effect, because it doesn't really work on dry. Let's just go on to distorted, for example, so you can still hear me talking. Ha ha. So with distorted, obviously we go, yeah. Fine, but what you can do is there is on the clock, there is a little, obviously if you press the clock, which is the one on the left hand side, you go yeah, it will hold that note. Okay, so obviously distorted is quite loud. So if we just go into something else, just to show you, so we've got
thinner when we go yeah.
So you can hold that note, pick another effect, and then go straight into it as you release it, which is quite nice. You've got to get the timing right on that. The other one as well, and I've gone to this one deliberately, one of these ones is the reason for this little note. So what we do is, let's get out of that. So this is the female to male, so I sound really deep at the moment. And then we go into, let's just change male to female. Hello! There we go. So if we then go on to this one where you go onto note, it will bring up this high and low. So you can change the way this sounds. It sounds so weird. Anyway, there we go. We can even go even higher. Hello, 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 hello. And we go really low. So we can have it really high, and then let go, and it goes back. Okay. So you can change it on the fly. So obviously, if you were singing something and you would just start, the loop's going, like, we'll give you an example. Oh, I know that it's all. So you can do stuff like that, okay? Now, the other side of this, which I mentioned briefly at the beginning, is the fact that this is recording from the camera. So obviously in the camera as well, we can see me and my hands are all over the place. Apologies if you can see that. I should have put the camera on the other side really, but I should turn the iPad around. But what this is doing is, and obviously you're getting a wonderful shot of my neck there, is that because I've got this set up the way this set up. But what you can do is obviously this has been recording and it's constantly recording at the moment. And then once you finish recording, you can then either put it onto your camera roll. So then you could put it into iMovie on the iPad or anything like that and edit it up if you wanted to, cut it up. You can then just directly from VoiceJam Studio send it to YouTube or anything like that, which is great because the thing is it means that you can record your performances. And this is the other thing as well, and I'm using this camera this time. This isn't plugged into anything, okay? This is a mic stand with an iPad clip and my microphone. Now, obviously, I'm using headphones, but if you were on a busking mic amp, you could go busking with this. It's whether you'd want to go busking with an iPad, but the fact is that it's incredibly portable. Now, I'm using a microphone right now, but you don't have to. You don't have to use your microphone. You just plug your headphones straight into your iPad, and it'll use the iPad's microphone. It is a little bit more tinny, obviously, because of the way the microphone is, but for getting stuff on the fly and just playing with stuff, I don't know, on an airplane or whatever, as long as you don't mind singing into it, you know what I mean? And basically, if you want to just get ideas down, it's a great app for that. So there we go. So that is the VoiceJam Studio app. Thank you very much for sticking with me for whatever it is, 20 odd minutes. I just wanted to go over pretty much all of it because it's incredibly clever. So you can then save these sessions. So for example, we just go into there and I say save as, save to, loop. We can transfer the loop, which is cool. So say you've created this amazing loop and you can't replicate it, in a studio or whatever, but you go, do you know what? It was just at that moment, it was that time, I got that right groove. You can do a loop transfer over to something like Logic or over to Pro Tools, and use that as the basis for a song that you then actually create in a studio. I think that's really cool. The other thing this does as well, which we can go far too deep into, is that it actually works with Audio Bus. Okay, so let's just say, for example, you don't do looping, but you really want some effects on your voice. You could use the effects of TC-Helicon and you could throw it out through Audio Bus to something else, like a recorder like Cubasis, or you could use GarageBand, which is great because the thing is you can then turn around and go, because GarageBand's got like maybe 2 effects, 3 effects, something like that, for the vocals. It's not really got anything major. Whereas this has, so if you really wanted a certain kind of effect, you could throw it in through Audio Bus. If you're not familiar with Audio Bus, Google it and have a look. Download the app because it's a phenomenal app for musicians. And it means that basically a app links through Audio Bus to another app. And you're not sitting there going like, let's plug this through, then plug it back in. It's doing it all internally. It's fantastic. So yeah, there we go. I mean, this is the TC-Helicon VoiceJam Studio app. I think at the moment TC-Helicon have got like an introductory price on it. I think that's why I went for it, because it's going to be cheaper. And obviously, I'm a big TC-Helicon fan. They're fantastic for vocal effects. But yeah, there we go. So have a play, have a mess around, see what you think. By all means, comment on the video. I know it's going to be a long video, so apologies for that. I just wanted to go through all the different options with this that you can. One thing I would say about this, obviously, is that right out of the box, there is room for improvement. I personally would like the option for the metronome to be an optional thing. So then you can just start a loop and go, bam, 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 boom, and then it figures out the BPM as opposed to having to figure out the BPM first and then do your loop. I think the creativity side of that would speed up. And then the only other thing I would like to see personally is being able to take, say, loop number 2 and drop it onto loop number 1, so then they overlay and overdub each other. Other than that, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a fantastic app, 4-track looper, and obviously with each loop you can overdub 1 billion times if you really wanted to. So yeah, so there we go. I haven't really got much else to say other than go and have a look at it. VoiceJam Studio by TC-Helicon. Thank you very much for watching.